I think this is Genesis.
Okay, we're good.
Ready, RD?
Ready.
Okay.
There's a long way to go, obviously, but in spring,
Yeah.
who might fulfill a utility infielder role still on this team? Presuming that maybe Pat Valleca might be a little bit of ways away.
We're hoping that Pat will be back. I think what Pat did last year, I think really gives him a leg up on that spot on our 25-man roster. But like I said, I think that we're hoping that he'll be back here within the next couple weeks. And same with Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley came in, but obviously he's banged up now. It doesn't look like he'll be able to open the season. We'll see how it shakes out.
Okay, what have you seen from Daniel Castro so far? He made a nice pick.
He can play defense. He's confident on defense. I think he was the defensive shortstop on the AAA. At the end of the season, all defensive team. So he can play defense. He plays a premium position shortstop. He can play second. He can play third. So, what he does, he brings the component of defense, which is great. And he's a heady player. He hit 300 in Albuquerque. He puts the ball in play. Sort of a low walk, low strikeout type hitter. But he has big league experience with the Braves, so he doesn't scare off of being in the big leagues.
Because you have so much versatility on the team with O'Malley and Valleca down, will you use that as an opportunity to move some other guys around? I mean, Brian McMahon a little bit?
Well, yeah. I mean, McMahon's played a couple games at third base. I think he'll get in. I think he's going to get in there today at third base. He'll pick up Nolan in today's game at third. But, he can play first. He played second last year some. So, Ryan can move around a little bit too.
Ian Desmond at all?
Probably not. I wouldn't say that, we're looking at that right now. I mean, that's a lot to ask for a guy, whether it's the outfield component or first base. But, in a pinch, we feel comfortable with Ian. Like we did last year, we started him at shortstop, a game there in the middle of the year, and, he was fine. But, that's probably a little bit too much gas right now.
What are you seeing in terms of maturation, emotionally and physically, from Jon Gray as a guy that maybe you look to as an anchor?
Well, again, I think that last year, even the last 2 years for Jon were great growing years. Great in the regard that experience is the best teacher. Even the one game against Arizona in the playoffs was a learning experience for Jon, and he'll be the first to admit it. But again, I think with his mechanics, his delivery, those are in order. I know that Steve Foster, Darren Holmes had some work to do there with Jon. Jon bought in, knew what he had to do, and did it. So now it's just really fine-tuning his game. Really, there's on the delivery side, the throwing motion were in place. So now it's really getting more detailed on how Jon needs to get his outs and how to get through a game. So. And it's a process to become really a solidified major league bona fide starting pitcher.
Young hitters, you've got a bunch of them on your roster. If guys can hit, do they come to the big leagues and hit, or is there a process, a learning curve that they've
I've seen it both. I've seen guys come up and hit right away, and I've seen other guys have to make a little bit of an adjustment to big league pitching, because there is a difference between a minor league pitcher and a big league pitcher, especially an experienced major league pitcher. So, when you're talking about McMahon, you're talking about Dahl, you're talking about Tapia, you're talking about Tauchman, you're talking about all these fellas who are in camp and getting a lot of at-bats. There is a difference when the season starts of a big league pitcher and a minor league pitcher, and the only way to get that experience is to play. It looks to see that those guys are going to get an opportunity. We'll see who makes our roster and how it all shakes out. But at one point, Charlie Blackmon was a young player, and so was Arenado, and so was DJ, and so was Trevor. So in that regard, these guys will ultimately get their opportunity.
What about you've been obviously trying some different leadoff hitters and Charlie in the 3 position, but is it something where you could have multiple lineups rather than if you put Charlie in 3, you're going to do it for 150 games? I mean, would you like to have just different lineups to go to? No.
Well, I think you always have your sort of core players that are in the lineup, and they're usually pretty secure in where they bat. I mean, it may not, every single game they bat in the same spot, but they're sort of in that same area, and that's sort of what you like. Whether it's a grouping of DJ, Charlie, Nolan, there might, depends on who we lead off. That could change depending on the starting pitcher, whether he's left-handed or right-handed. Who hits 4, 5, 6, 7 against a left-handed starter, right-handed starter. All those things are sort of fluid, but I think your group of players initially, and for the most part, if they perform like they're capable, usually hit in and around the same area.
And with Charlie, because he's accomplished as a leadoff hitter, is it easier to move down in a lineup as opposed to hitting down and then moving up?
Well, I think with Charlie's aptitude and how he sees the game and how he sees, his role in a lineup, it's easy for him because he's sharp baseball-wise. He'll have if he does hit third, it'll be a little different approach, not drastic from what he took into the game as a leadoff hitter. Leadoff hitter, takes a special type of mentality when you are the first hitter of the game. Or in the National League, a lot of times it happens more often than the American League because the pitcher a lot of times will make the last out, based on a couple different scenarios, how the other team might intentionally walk the pitcher and so forth. So, I think Charlie does have the ability to, if we do move him, to handle that change fine and to hit, wherever we hit him in a more, what you might call a traditional run-producing role.
For the reasons that you just mentioned, wanting to keep core guys in spots, are you reluctant at all to use DJ as a leadoff? The only reason I ask is because I think he has the best OBP on the team.
He does have a nice on base percentage for sure. You might find this hard to believe, but we have thought about it. Yeah. But again, if he hits second, he has also nice on base percentage too.
Right.
Okay.
But has the strikeout changed over the years in that, in your day and age, if I would talk to George, he'd talk about the honor of just not striking out, making contact, putting the ball in play. But we see a day and age now where strikeouts seem to be much more accepted, not desired, but accepted.
Yes. I think that has occurred, but I think you're starting to see I think you're starting to see ever so slightly a movement to the importance of putting the ball in play. That change that you're referring to happened over a period of time, and I do believe now it's starting to shift back. Teams are starting to talk about the importance of putting the ball in play and avoiding strikeouts. So, did that happen? Of course, yeah. Because I think there was a train of thought that said, an out is an out, right? Don't sacrifice power or slugging percentage, just to put the ball in play by shortening your swing, just hitting the ball. Because there's some folks who said, hey, a strikeout is the same out as a ground ball to short, right? I'm not one of those people, just me personally. I do think that by putting the ball in play, anything can happen as opposed to a strikeout. So, again, that's the beauty of our game. There's always these conversations. Some things are cyclical, some things come and stay, some things come and go. But I wouldn't be surprised over, the coming years that you see strikeouts decrease.
Are you seeing that in the numbers already, or just
it's conversing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you see the stolen base ever kind of coming back? It used to really be pushed, and with a lot of the sabermetrics, there's been a lot of talk about the worth of it. I mean, do you see that coming back?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the stolen base, it's not, and the stolen base is an offensive play, right? But even the threat of a stolen base is an offensive play. The pressure that puts on the pitcher-catcher combination, puts on the defense if there is a base stealer on base, even though he doesn't steal. So speed still is a part of this game. For me, a balanced lineup of speed and power and average is what you want. I don't think you should be one-dimensional. So, again, I think that, the stolen base, teams are talking about drafting speed. They're talking about, getting players into their player development system who can run. Do I think it's a thing of the past? No. But I do know this, that teams are, on the defensive side, from the pitchers, their times to the plate, controlling the running game, all the things that we do defensively have really been a point of emphasis over the past couple decades to slow the running game down. So that's part of it. I just know from my experience, all the talk of what we're talking about now wasn't talked about as much a generation ago.
Was there a trade-off in that? I mean, with the slide step and things like that, was there?
There's
trade-off on the defense?
there's a little bit of trade-off on stuff, and a little bit of trade-off on pitch making. That it's part of what makes a big league pitcher now: the ability to make pitches, be quick to the plate, hold runners at first, all those things. Okay, guys, I got to scoot.
Thank you.
We're the only team to ever 200 home runs and 200